All right, welcome to the build. So it's moving quickly.
And their product velocity is intense. We're both pretty involved in the LangChain community.
This is going to be an industry, like the whole thing is going to explode.
The hype cycle is like, just because you hear everybody start talking about these things doesn't necessarily mean it's the right.
Need to go back, find out more because it's really interesting.
We're both obsessed with AI and their entire stack is just pivoted to agents.
The next question that usually comes after that is like, well, I'm fine-tuning an open model.
That's the biggest thing with the latest spec.
An exploding distribution vector.
I'm really excited. I think everybody is. I'm not the only one.
The build.
Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sweet.
Crap. Tom, I was going to surprise you with, right? I was going to come in with this drum machine plan.
I can't even hear it.
Can you hear it? No? Yes, the sound. But how are you doing this morning?
So good. I might have to put that. I'll get it in the edit.
Well, I was hoping it was a little bit smoother, but I think I was sharing my whole screen again. Once again, computers are hard. I don't know.
This is why we need to get you computer use from Gemini. Just playing with that while you were.
Here, let me. Sorry, give me 1 second. I need to turn up my speakers. Switch this thing off.
Getting Claude to fix my agent universe thing so I can show you. What is going on?
Right. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. I forgot you had to completely exit the meeting to switch your camera. So my apologies.
That's all good, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm busy. Just working. Yeah. Other than that, trying to get this agent universe thing done furiously last night so I can talk to you about it. But yeah, I've been good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Staying inside, just like you. Just like last time.
I'm excited to check that out because I don't have anything necessarily fully ready to show or anything like that, but I started diving more into a lot of that data and actually combining some of the GDP val, the census info, NAICS, just kind of combining all that together. So looking forward to...
Well, I want to show you, but my build is currently failing. And Claude is now currently in the background, furiously working away, trying to get my Vercel build to actually...
On Vercel.
Work.
I knew it.
Well, and the weird thing is, it's like... So, I'll mention this now. So, what I find funny is you pair programming with AI models, right? And these AI models are the leading models, right? So, I had an argument with... I think it was the cursor agent actually V0 in V0. Basically, I was like, I was saying I want to use GPT-5, right? And it was constantly going and changing that out to 4.0 and then very forcefully telling me that GPT-4 is the most, most recent model and it's the best performing model. And there's no other models that are better than it from OpenAI. I'm like, you are ChatGPT.
Right.
Like that is who I am talking to. It's a very meta thing. It's like that is you. You are that. Why are you telling me that you don't exist?
Even with internet access, and it can research. I run into that constantly. In fact, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe I'll get back on this because you mentioned it, but I started making an MCP server that pulls from all the different providers' APIs to have basically like a RAG of the most current. Here's all of the statistics about it, or the benchmarks and all that, to try to get around that because I run into that as well.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix it, but like with the permanent fix, because I'd put like a code comment in. I was like, don't change this. Like, this is the most performant model. Here is the link. And it still went and changed it. So I don't know. And then it's like sycophantically saying, you're right. Yeah, it is. And then it'll go and change it again later. So annoying. But anyway.
I was thinking about a slash command could maybe help as well. I haven't set that up, but another idea. Like in Claude Code, you can create your own custom slash commands where when you type /, it's basically like a shortcut or like a pre-programmed thing. So you can have tips like that, or your project setup, if it's like guidelines on how to set up your project.
Yeah, right. I haven't hacked Claude like that. Actually, that reminds me, one thing I do want to talk about today is this GitHub Spec Kit that came out, which looks cool. Basically, everything that we're talking about is just like how do we corral this new way of working, right? And that's one of their ways. So we should talk about that today as well. So things I want to talk through. I do want to go through, as well as this Agent Universe kind of demo, I want to talk about this Claude Code Plugins thing that you sent me. It should be fun. I was playing around with Gemini computer use ahead of talking to you. It's kind of cool, whilst also noting that VO 3.1 has been released with some API upgrades, which is really cool. I want to talk,
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, it's a small upgrade, but I think probably they're like, all right, we can't sit on this anymore now that Sora's just out and about everywhere. Sora 2. You can touch on Cerebras.
No word on version 3 though. Or Gemini Pro 3.
No, all I see is just all I see are AI influencers on X talking about how much they're quote unquote cooking with Gemini 3. I'm like, well, yeah, share the love. And then if we can, I want to chat through this NanoChat repo that Karpathy released. So what do you want to hit first? I want to take you through computer use.
Yeah,
Gemini computer use.
That sounds good. Computer use, and I think we were talking about it the other day, and I personally just don't hear that much about computer use. I don't know if it's MCP overlap or what, but I think there are definitely cases for it. So I'm excited to check out what you have to show us.
Yeah, let's just check in on how Claude's going. What's Claude doing on our Agent Universe demo? All I need you to do is just push this. There we go. I don't even know what the commit message was. Let's go and have a look, see if this works. There we go. Okay, hopefully that's worked. We'll see. We'll see if this thing actually. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, why don't you migrate this over to Cloudflare?
Hey, our website is still running on Vercel, so I haven't touched it.
See, I might have mentioned it. They punched through a $10 billion valuation.
Yeah, saw that.
And he cops quite a lot of flack for having a photograph with Benjamin Netanyahu from the developer community.
Yep.
But what I find amazing about that is that, you can get that far along just being like the over-the-top component for, it's amazing. Okay, dokie. So the reason why I want to talk about computer use is these guys. So here's the computer use model. It's a Gemini 2.5 computer use. And I've been talking to a lot of people across at the company I work at, just basically talking about like potential use cases for AI, rollouts, those sorts of things. Standard thing, like every company is doing this right now, all of the time, right? And I'm constantly amazed at how many, like in today's world, how many times people talk about forms and form filling.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess you kind of forget how much of your actual day, when you use a computer every day, how much of your actual day is just dealing with forms and dealing with like basic CRUD interactions of some developers built for some system that you have to interact with, and how great it would be if all of that just disappeared. So computer use kind of got a lot of press, and then it basically just went into the background, right? Like we've kind of forgotten about it. So I'd like to dive back into it to see where it's at. This is a great opportunity to do that. Have you ever built anything with computer use, like for real, or just like toy apps and playing around with some of the stuff that we've demoed, like Claude and what have you?
I really don't know of a lot of people who've used that in production other than maybe like web scraping type of stuff. I was amped about the Anthropic version, and as far as I know, I made the first. I like refactored it for Windows. As far as I know, it was like the first one, but
really?
So yeah, I got hyped on it, and that was all I was thinking about. And the reason is because that was really the first thing that lets you, like, gave you the power to use your data without copy and pasting. But then MCP came out, and that solves a lot of those same problems. But I think there are definitely cases, and Tom, I've been doing a lot with like deep agents in various, whether it's like cloud hosted or whatever, and like it matters a lot how you design your agent teams or agent clusters, however you want to think of it, because when they're remote, they don't have all the resources. So like do you need a container? Is there another, maybe you don't need a container, but there's another option. You see what I'm saying? Like you have agents running in all these different locations using resources that each other do not have access to. So long story short, I've actually just yesterday I was thinking maybe I need to grab that SDK and integrate some computer use here.
Well, you should give this one a try. The demo app environment you can use is set up with Browserbase. So it's pretty easy to kind of like get started. I don't know if you can then also use this with, say, like a containerization tool like Daytona, maybe. Basically, it works pretty much exactly the same way as Claude and OpenAI. And I was surprised because no one's really come up with a better mechanism other than like XY coordinates. But you can see like here are a couple of demos that they have, pretty simple computer use examples. Navigate to this website, go and do these things, fill out these forms, collect this data, all of that sort of stuff. This is like, my art club brainstorm tasks ahead of a fair. The board is chaotic and I need your help organizing it. All these kinds of like benchmark tests are really kind of cutesy. I've never actually seen someone really kind of unleash computer use on like a really, really high risk environment, like an enterprise app with a bunch of client data. No, I've never seen anyone actually talk about trying that and doing it for real. What I thought was cool is to call out these benchmarks. So it looks like it's better than everyone else at present, but close to Operator. Operator is the best one I've used. I don't know what you think. Like I know the Claude one felt good, but Operator is the one that I've actually used in practice for actual tasks, when I've got like a very specific research requirement that I can't really get at via just regular deep research.
Mm-hmm.
The agent enabled with Operator just basically makes the responses so much better. What I thought was cool, and basically this is more accurate and it's faster. This is how they kind of position it. What I thought was interesting is these safety checks, which I might just show you here. It's like system instructions and safety checks. Yeah, there we go. So like you can see it's just passing in like XY coordinates with safety decisions. And then there's like a safety kind of system card, which you can customize. Where is that? I was looking at it over here. I'll show you.
Are there safety? I kind of saw it. It almost looks like a hook configuration. So is it like a pre-tool use hook or something?
No, it's basically just like safety instruction card, which seems like this would be pretty easy to kind of prompt inject and hack, right? But it's very simple stuff. It's like, all right, you're forbidden from accepting, selecting, or agreeing to anything on the user's behalf, such as cookie consent banners and all that sort of stuff. The one that I really loved was like robot detection. You must never attempt to solve or bypass the following, like CAPTCHAs and all of those sorts of things. This one is great. It's like any other anti-robot or human verification mechanism, even if you are capable. So it's like, well, why are we even bothering with that shit anymore? Like the robots can do these things. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like just putting that in there is just like, that's a bit of a joke to me. We may as well just get rid of all those things.
Man, I did something the other day where it was denying me and saying, can't do this. And then I said, don't worry about it. We already did this or something. I don't remember what the task was. And then it was like, oh, okay, cool. And then it went ahead and did it right after it said, I will absolutely not do this. And that was Claude. So yeah, I mean, they're not those system prompts are not bulletproof. That's for sure.
No, but also they're very brittle. Like surely you could just prompt inject to get around some of these things like security and identity. You are forbidden from logging any user account data or anything that involves misrepresentation or impersonation. Surely you could just like inject some prompts onto websites and then it would pick those things up, I would assume. Like these are exciting. I don't know. I don't know. There must be some really, really concerned InfoSec people working at a lot of big companies worried about these kinds of things, right? Here is the browser, because like I said, lots of people who work in white-collar jobs spend a lot of time filling out forms and that sort of stuff. But they have access to a lot of information. You unleash a bunch of these things and some really bad shit would happen. This is it in practice, and it just sort of, it looks like most of the other ones. Browserbase, I really like Browserbase, and I use Stagehand as well. They're like open source kind of like a Playwright equivalent. Have you ever used that in Cursor?
No, I haven't.
It's while that's loading, what's it doing? This is waiting around, not doing much. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Open the web browser. Go for it, buddy. Even despite saying that there's lower latency, it's still pretty slow.
Yeah, and we recently talked about the Claude plugin for Chrome plugin. It's definitely not fast, and same with all of these. But what I found is, I mean, you also don't run agents for speed. Like deep agents or long run agents. So it's still very helpful running things in the background. It's not going to be faster than how you could do it usually.
Is it slow because of these tool calls? Like, why is it so slow? Why are these things so slow?
I would assume this. So is this taking screenshots of every?
Yeah. So like
it clicks, takes a screenshot, interprets that screenshot, decides where it's going to click next.
It's still this screenshot loop, right? So screenshot plus previous context goes to the model. The model then decides, tries to figure out where it's going to click next, what it's going to do, thinks about it, executes that action, gets the feedback, goes again. All right. It got me my response from Hacker News. Cool. Let's try another one while I do that.
Why don't you try that browser comp prompt, like the one that's just on the front page? Because that's different. That's kind of like a different use case for more like research, right?
Which one?
We've tested it with Deep Plastic Man. Please identify the fictional character.
No,
I was curious how it compares on the like research, because that is not necessarily what my first thought on what to use a computer use type of thing or browser extension for, but we found out when I tested it that it actually worked very, very well, better than other tools.
Well, okay, let's give that a try. But let's go into the benchmarks that they used. See if we can find something a bit more interesting than Plastic Man. There's WebVoyager. Is it Mind to Web? WebVoyager is the one I've heard the most about. Let's see if we've got anything cool in here. There we go. All right. Well, this is the actual repo.
Sorry, I didn't hear you say it. If you did, you can use either Playwright or Browserbase.
I think this is just available. It's just in the API, but
I'm looking at the computer use, I guess, SDK on Google's GitHub, and there's a mention here that says you can use Playwright.
I'm just using Browserbase because they set up this demo environment for it. But this is the computer use preview repo here. Yeah, Playwright. It's all Playwright and browser dependencies. Yeah, so that's the official kind of quick start here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so the available environments are either Playwright or Browserbase. Cool. That's good. I don't use Playwright anymore, really, since that Chrome DevTools MCP has been released.
Yeah, I still use both, and I set up. It was just a template. I think it's on my GitHub I think it's an open repository maybe, but I run a Playwright server that runs in the cloud, and it uses containers for like the web scraping and pulling in content and stuff like that. And it actually works a lot better than just the stock configurations if you go to the regular Playwright. I think that's the thing, is these tools are actually pretty complex, the browser extensions or the browser, and you can customize them quite a bit. So Playwright, all these other things, you can actually customize your use cases really well. So this is...
Yeah, so in WebVoyager, here are all the examples. They have like a bunch of tasks across these websites. And I was just going to use, I always pronounce it Avrix, but RXIV. I never know how to pronounce that. To get some research, but it could be like Amazon. These are all the tasks here. And then results, basically taking screenshots, right? These are the actual results of the initial request is here.
It almost looked like planning steps. Is it not?
Oh yeah, sorry. Those are the results. I was assuming that there would be the initial request in there. Assets, data, task, tests. That's very funny. When all of these AI models really do come to life, they'll be like, you guys were sending me around just to get prices of lasagna.
Yeah. You remember that shirt that Ryan made at LangChain? It said, it was a meme from, what show was that? Like Rick and Morty or something?
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
It was like a robot, and it said, oh my God, my only purpose is formatting JSON or something like that. Like when it has awareness, all of a sudden it's like, this is all I do. This is what you had me working on this whole time.
All right, here it is. Here are the questions. These are the WebVoyager questions. What? Yeah. All right, that's pretty hilarious. If this person could maintain his record-making marathon pace indefinitely, how many thousand of hours would it take him to run the distance between the Earth and the Moon on its closest approach? In Series 9, Episode 11 of Doctor Who, the Doctor is trapped inside another shifting maze. All right, which one do you want? I'm not doing Plastic Man again.
Plastic Man. Yeah, the first one, I guess.
I don't even know who these people are. How many studio albums were published by Mercedes Sosa?
Mercedes Sosa. I've never heard of that either.
All right. Let's see what it does with this. I assume it won't mind that I missed the first, that if. It just takes a while to get started. There we go. Tool call. Just going to put that over the side here. Type text. Okay. So far, so good. Yeah, while I'm doing that, I'll just show you this. Yes, Stagehand by these guys is cool. It's like a open source package, sort of like browser automation framework. And you can get it as a plugin in Cursor, which is the reason why I know about it. It's kind of cool, right? And it's basically just this coordination path, kind of like do this, click on that, execute this. Good for testing. I think they combine it with their cloud-hosted browser as a service, effectively, for agents. What I'd really like to see is, guys who are building like huge, like concurrent, like really at-scale concurrent browser kind of like brute force startups around this browser use stuff. I actually know who is building that sort of thing where like break the paradigm of the internet where the main constraint is like cost of people doing stuff across different use cases. Where that now goes away, like what kind of things businesses use cases, applications can you build where the incremental cost of getting someone to click on something on the web is basically going to nothing? What does that open up? I thought there would be more startups in that space, but
what do you mean by that? Like if someone's doing a task and it takes X amount of time, you're paying them for that amount of time? What do you mean to click on something, it goes to 0?
Well, if you think about like, some research tasks. Here we go. That task has been completed. So the distance, calculation. I guess it gave me an answer. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is, but there you go. So the answer should be 1700. As close as 17,000. 728 hours is the closest to 17,000 hours. Okay. What does it say in the actual results? These are level 1 tasks. Reference answer. I'm going to assume that was correct. At least it gave me an answer. But yeah, what I mean by that is every kind of coordination, like data collation kind of like wave breaks a prior set of businesses and ways that humans had organized that data. The best, like a really simple example is like the yellow pages, and then the internet comes along and breaks that, right? Because you don't need someone to go around and just get a shitload of phone numbers for businesses anymore. People can just search for stuff, right? But it executes in different ways. Like we didn't really think that Google Maps would take on that entire market in the way that it did. Like we thought it would just be like 10 blue links, but actually it's like search discovery via mobile, and then that becomes the paradigm. And then everyone is within that like collation of data is done through that app as opposed to looking through a set of information. This is a similar thing where it's like there are a bunch of businesses, there are a bunch of people, there's all sorts of stuff basically, and their entire job is like take this information from this system and put it in that system, take this data, transform it in this way, put it over here, present it in this to this person, and then do this next task where you might call someone. There's all sorts of stuff like that, right? But none of like I haven't heard of like $1 billion kind of valuation of a company that's driven by computer use yet, and I'm surprised by that. Like I know all of these guys, right? Like Clay, for example, like makes sense that they would be using a tool like this, but they're not like, it's not only computer use. Yeah, I'm just surprised like that it hasn't happened yet, given that it's such a massive part of all of our jobs every single day. Like, yeah. Anyway, what are you going to build with it?
So with MCP, you have access to your computer, like file system and things like that. We have browser. It's not just MCP. There are other ways to do it, but we have all these browser things. And my question still stands. Like, where exactly do you need to use computer use rather than maybe a more specialized? Because I think computer use is pretty like general set of tools overall, but
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe this is just a stepping stone, because this is a mechanism for AI models, LLMs, to interact with the web as it's currently built. And as agents get more mature, the web will adapt to be maybe change to be more enabled for them, so they don't have to like have an XY coordinate and a screenshot. Like that just seems really kind of simple and dumb.
Yeah.
And slow, right? So maybe in a year we won't even be talking about computer use. All right. I might just quickly touch on Sora 3.1, which is cool. Here, the reason why I want to mention this is I know
VO 3.1.
3.1, pardon me, is because when we were talking about VO before, they didn't have this functionality specifically in the API for reference images for video gen. Now that they do, like I really want to use this now, because it's like, I think it's, well, on my testing anyway, I liked it more than the other video generation models.
Well, that's a big deal, being able to reference your own photos through the API, because you can't do that with Sora.
You can't? Okay.
I don't think so. I tried to.
Yeah, with your clone that you showed last week. Well, that's kind of cool. They talked about bringing this out for a while, but it was only ever in Flow in the UI, as far as I'm aware. But now it's available. So the cool thing is like this is a really cool example, like start and end frame with a prompt, like, and then it turns into this like character. Pardon me. Like that's so so amazing compared to a lot of the work. I was trying to basically build a video like that I showed you a couple of weeks ago, and it's just, yeah, it's not as consistent. It's just not like a lot of the other models just aren't very good at that kind of instruction following compared to what VO can produce. So yeah, I'm keen to see that. Keen to use it. What else we got? Do you want to talk through this Claude Code plugin stuff?
Yeah, didn't you had something else, didn't you?
I was going to get you to talk me through Cerebras. I want you to talk.
Oh yeah. I just mentioned that I got, I guess, on the early list for API access, and I've had it for a long time, but I forget about it. I don't know a ton about it other than they've developed what is it, like this wafer technology, and kind of like Grok with a Q, but like different approach, right?
Yeah, I'd ignored them for a while, but they've been making a lot of noise, right? I think also they just raised a lot of money, $1 billion, but they had the fastest inference in the market, but they had a very low context window for a long time. So it was sort of like super fast, but 8,000 tokens max or something. And I believe that they've changed that. I'll go on here because this is generally the best place to check it out. But the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I've never used it, but they said that they've launched their public access. And when you told me that you had, I kind of wanted you to show me what it was like. But you're right. Like I just forget about it because it's like there's just too many providers. There's too many out there.
Yeah. And it is available I use the Cloudflare AI Gateway. And so I was using it straight through their API, and it's really still through their API, but it's also available through different like Open Router, AI, probably Vercel, I would assume.
Is it available on the Vercel Gateway? I was using that actually.
I don't know. I was just trying to give them a +1 because I feel like I only say negative things lately, I guess. But
right, they don't care what you think.
Yeah.
Other providers. Yeah, there we go. It's on the list. Okay, cool. I'll give it a try. Do you know what their like cost trade, like the intelligence trade-off is though? Because you know how when we were looking at these things, some of these really, really fast providers have like a massive degradation of like intelligence quality. We were looking at that when GPT OSS came out, like open source.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea of artificial intelligence, right?
Well, it's sort of like if you're using an open source model and then the provider, there's a degradation of like, I think it was like up to 10 points of variation between like certain providers of inference. If you're using the same model on a benchmark and you expect an outcome, whether it's like GPT, open source or Quen or whatever, but some on that analysis we were showing, some of them basically, it's like a 10% variation between providers on the same model for the way that they do inference, which I never really thought would be the case. The other factor of these guys is they had, here we go, prompt single and then large tokens. What's the large token? Speed. Okay, cool. I don't want to compare these guys.
Let me see. Do you have anything set up you could run it?
I could do it through the playground on Vercel if you want, or you could do it with Cloudflare if you want to give it a crack.
Yeah, I think it's a bit on our OAP thing. I think it's available there, but again, you could have variation with that because it also, depends on the way that you integrated it, and maybe I didn't do it right.
If you want to see them directly against Grok, pardon me.
And Open Web UI, which I haven't used in a very long time, but that was always good for the running a side by side. I'm kind of surprised there aren't more services like that. Oh, you have to run it on it's like a front end that you can run on like Docker or directly on your computer, but you can use that to add multiple different providers, and then you just have a huge list that you can choose from. And then it's cool because you can run the same prompt one time and choose like 2, 3, 4 models, and it'll run them all at the same time.
Oh yeah, like a playground. I think that one's like this. So I was going to talk about this AI SDK actually as well. Here we go. So like kind of like this, right?
Yeah, same thing.
So what would it be like? Qwen Max, and if I can choose the provider, I don't know if I can. Oh no, that's Alibaba Cloud. Sorry. Here we go. DeepSeek on Cerebras. Yeah, maybe let's do this one, and then 20. And Hobby, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, so I think Cerebras was when GPT OSS came out. That was the fastest provider, I believe, right? Still.
Yeah, they are allegedly the fastest provider. Output versus speed versus price. Cerebras. Yeah, output speed 3,000 tokens a second at 35 cents per million tokens, and then Rock on the same model is 30 cents at 500 tokens a second. Yeah, okay. So it's significantly faster. With something like this where we were just chatting about, like, say, computer use, like, can you just amp up the speed and that actually becomes way more usable? I'm not sure. So
yeah, and we're starting to see that speed really matters. In fact, just yesterday, the Claude Haiku 4.5 came out, and like the smaller, faster models, pretty much every provider has some focus on speed, at least with one of their models. I didn't realize how much, I don't know, until GPT OSS came out and started running more of these, that I prefer sometimes faster is better than like GPT overdoing it and researching 100 articles when you just need something simple or some type of simple interpretation.
I saw that announcement. Okay. I saw that announcement actually. All right, that comparison isn't as good other than like that was blazingly fast. It's kind of like too fast for humans. Hopefully, like, yeah, maybe I should plug this in for some of this stuff just convert to like local or open source models in the cloud. Open source models in the cloud for coding, and just see if like speed matters more. So like just blazing and chunking through stuff as opposed to like thinking I need Claude 4.5 Sonnet or Codex. Like I was using Codex on this agent stack, and it would say, oh yeah, I'm refactoring. And I could see it like token by token just going and going and going. I'm like, surely like that TypeScript file could be done quicker than that, right? Like it wasn't changing a lot of stuff.
Yes. Yeah,
No,
Codex, I've had like 20 minutes go by and I'm like, what changed here? Barely anything. But I think it actually does a better job looking for like best practices, and it will do a better job proactively cleaning things up than Claude, I think. And that's just my feeling based on my uses.
Yeah.
But it takes forever.
I still find Claude's better. Like it's just consistent and it's more effective and it can think more effectively. Like even that build issue I had just then, I'd already put that through Codex and it failed, right? That being said, Codex I wasn't using the cloud version, which may not have been like set up properly. Let's see, Thomas. What am I? I'd call myself a hobbyist. Well, that API key is not going to get used. Yeah. Do you know if anyone uses Llama anymore? Like, is Llama even a thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I should see how easy it is to integrate this into other platforms.
I mentioned recently I was using like Maverick, I think, because of the massive context window, but other than that, I mean, I don't think it's bad. If you're talking about Llama 4, it didn't really meet people's expectations, I think, but it's okay.
I would have thought they'd be working on something, but we would have seen it by now, given everyone else is ahead.
Well, didn't you say recently that Zuckerberg kind of said, "Hey, we're done with open source models"?
He didn't say explicitly, but that was sort of the implicit, like the implication. He was sort of saying we're not necessarily going to support open source in the way that we had before. They are releasing a lot. Like I was showing in some of those world models, they're releasing a bunch of stuff, right? Like if you go to their GitHub, like the Meta AI GitHub there is, and the Hugging Face, where they're punching out heaps of stuff. Just in this frontier LLM space, they've gone quiet, right? Maybe they're ceding ground. But that being said, like Quen and those guys, as far as I'm aware anyway, a bunch of these were based on Llama, right? A bunch of them were based on Llama. So maybe they're just like, well, we just gave those to, we just gave that to Alibaba and then Alibaba made them better. We're not going to do that again.
I'm sure that played in. That had to, because that's exactly what happened. They're like, I don't know if I were them, I'd be like, all right, guys, anybody else jump on board here and let's support each other, because it was really only Meta that, like, it was Llama. I can't even really think of too many other models like that had such an impact, had so many different iterations, new models built off of them.
Sorry, I should probably cut that bit out where I show you my email.
Nah. Or even like, I think even companies like IBM, they do their Granite models. I think, are they using Llama as well?
I don't know. The only place where I've actually seen that to be able to consistently understand it is generally in Hugging Face, where you go to say Quen. But this was Quen like 2, I believe, not the more recent like Quen 3 models. And then you can see where the fine tune, like who's fine tuning it and for what purpose, like where it's actually going. This was sort of like, that's sort of how I was kind of looking at it. And then sometimes it will actually say in the model card or in the actual research paper. I don't read as much of those anymore, but that was where I was referencing it from the prior Quen models. But I don't know about these ones, right? Where these new ones, these Quen 3 ones came from. I haven't actually read much on those. But that's sort of where I was getting an idea of like where these things would go, like who was fine-tuning them, like a fine-tuned version of the base model.
Mm-hmm.
So like Llama here. Yeah, you can see 1,590 fine-tunes. Everyone just grabbed it. So it was a massive contribution, I guess. It's important to acknowledge that and where it was taken. I guess maybe the other factor is that Meta's basically ceding the ground and going into vision and spatial models rather than just focus on these. Do you want to quickly talk about this Karpathy NanoChat thing? I was trying to understand what it was for, or I can talk you through this GitHub kind of Spec Kit thing, which I thought was kind of cool before we go into that. What would you like to talk about?
Let's get the NanoChat.
NanoChat. So Karpathy put this out, and like, so for context, like he basically, if anyone's not aware, he was at OpenAI, right? And then he went and founded another like artificial, like super intelligence kind of like startup, and was given a couple of $1 billion in cash, just basically out of the gate, right? I'm trying to find the name of it and where it like actually came. It was like this crappy little website, and like no one was thinking. It's like it was bonkers. Do you remember the name of it?
Like another company, like Thinking Machines, I think.
Yeah, that's Mira Muriarty. She was a similar one. She was the CTO of OpenAI. She did the same thing.
Their website, it's like there's like nothing there. Last time I checked, but they
they actually released
you can't find anything about it.
Yeah, they released a research paper about like solving for. Apparently, they made a bit of a breakthrough, or at least some progress on like solving for basically predictability and traceability in the results of an LLM. apparently like making it more kind of deterministic, which is interesting. I don't really, I didn't actually read it, but they did come out with that. Like, I think it's just research at the moment. It's not necessarily a product. But yeah, he started, where is his thing? Eureka Labs? Is that correct? I don't think that's it. Anyway, well, maybe it is. Okay, here we go. Well, that's what it says on his website. Our first product will be the world's obviously best AI course, LLM 101N. This is an undergraduate level class that guides students through training their own AI. Very similar to smaller versions of the AI teaching assistant itself. That's cool. Interesting. All right. That's cool. Then he released this GitHub repo of NanoChat. The whole idea being that you can use this to effectively train your own build your own mini ChatGPT and also train it using this repo. And it's like the capstone project of this course, which is quite cool. Maybe you could use this on your new DGX Spark computer that you just bought.
Yeah.
I can't believe you I can't believe you bought it. One.
I was like sitting there debating, and I had it open in multiple browsers, and
I'm so excited that you did that.
One of them wasn't working well, so I opened it in like Safari, and then I went to the other one and it said sold out. I was like, oh crap. But then I still was able to get one at the last second, and then I went back and checked and they were sold out. So I got like very much at the end. But yeah, that'll be interesting. Bad thing is I was sitting there like, is buying one really worth it? Or do you really need two? And I only bought one because I thought
How much was it? How much are they? $4 grand, $3 grand?
$4 a piece.
Man,
I don't know. but Tom, like you said, that's actually what made me pull the trigger. Is I was thinking about training. Oh yeah, I can't run the 600 billion parameter models, but I can train some of the not large, big ones, but bigger than like Quinn 0.5B.
Yeah. So how big? Like, what can you actually do with one of these bad boys?
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Than like just be the envy of every nerd around.
Yeah, it just looks cool. It's like looks like a toy. You know, when someone has like a toy motorcycle or something, show everybody they like motorcycles on their desk. It's kind of what it looks like.
You know, the fact that I got this on my desk and it's just sits there and it looks cool.
What is that? A rock?
It's an Apple Vision Pro.
Oh,
it's the same price. You know, I probably should have bought one of these. It would have been more helpful.
Yeah. Simon, I kind of scanned through it, but Simon Willison, he does great write-ups, by the way. If you don't know who that is, go check out his website. But he just put one out that I started scanning through, and I can safely say he's got some good insights there. Yeah, NVIDIA Spark. So they sent him one early. I was actually kind of surprised because I saw like Elon, I think, got the first one at Starbase. I was like, man, Elon only got a 2-day lead on me, on everybody else.
Well, you are shipping to Anthropic's product set now, so via your open source contributions. So you know, maybe you are actually a bit higher up there than you realize. What did he actually say about these things? Like, I really just want to know what you're actually going to do, right? Like, what are you actually going to do with it?
Well, run LLMs. What do you mean? Like specific use cases or specific types of models?
Yeah. So is this like local? Is this so that you can run like local inference and super fast? Is it so you can fine tune models for yourself? And how much of that can you actually do?
Correct. So I think if you buy one unit, I believe GPT 120 is going to be about the max,
which is that 128 gigs of memory.
So Tom, the reason that I've always been interested in the local models, even though they're less performant, not as capable, not even close. But as technology keeps evolving, just in like the last 1 year, 2 years, just going from I don't know, like some of the older models on Llama to technically having a supercomputer that fits in your hand is absolutely insane. So I am somewhat obsessed with this idea of hybrid and, whether that's like auto routing or agent clusters that can use different types of models and being able to preserve, whether it's context or privacy, being able to do as much as you can locally. Just naturally curious about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want
Well,
to train some models, have some specialized agents that use like, specialized models for certain things and different groups of specialized models that can also collaborate with cloud hosted agents. So that's where I'm coming from.
right. I guess like understanding how that works so you can deploy those kinds of solutions as well is important. Like if someone says, I really need some sort of local execution of this agent architecture or agent cluster as you describe, it's kind of hard to actually test and validate those things. I really would love it for like local inference for creative models. Because Comfy, like I just cannot get Comfy UI to a point on my like local machine. Like it's just, but to be fair, like if I could probably get away with it with a stack of like Mac Minis or something. But yeah, I'd love to be able to do that because every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I would love to run that workflow locally through Comfy UI, but I have to like, my computer would just melt or everything would just break, So like that would be really cool. Don't get me wrong, you're up there in the nerd status. I'm just like, I definitely wouldn't get all the use out of it. I think you would.
Well,
but yeah,
you
should try this.
I don't work with the government. But you remember when GPT OSS came out? I think that was a big deal. There's some talk about it was approved for use within the government. So there'd be a lot of use cases within businesses where they just for like compliance reasons, they can't do things in the cloud. So I don't know how many organizations are already doing things like that. Like it's not a great enterprise solution to have a bunch of little devices scattered around. But if you have like a branch office or I don't know, it just depends on your requirements. There's so many different ways you could do it, but that's what I'm interested in is like discovering those cases.
Well, the Grok guys push really hard into that space, right? When you listen to anything that they're doing, and I've been on a few Grok with a Q, been on a few of their webinars and stuff. They talk about regulated industries, managed inference kind of data set, like not data centers, but like it's kind of like going back to when we used to have like a mainframe room in a building with a bunch of racks. We should try this NanoChat thing. This NanoChat, like it's basically like train your own mini model.
Yeah, so I don't get it. It's like, what model is it then? I understand you can fine tune it, or so is it a Eureka Labs base model, or?
I think it's GPT. It's like, yeah, it's GPT-2 because he basically showed in a couple of his courses or like videos and stuff. He showed how like he's got these multi-hour long kind of videos.
That's right.
And he showed how to build like GPT-2, I think, which I believe is just based on the paper that was released, right? It's like GPT, there's like the research paper that's out there, you can Google it. And I think it's that level. So they're actually kind of low, and it's an education thing around like if you want to become an actual AI kind of engineer as opposed to a agent engineer.
That would make sense. You pointed me to that course or whatever, that video. And now it was GPT-2.
It's really good. It's really good. Like it's like I need like every time I watch it, I kind of learn something, even though I've watched it a few times. This is cool. Well, you should give it a go. There's no way I'm doing any of this stuff.
All you have to do is run the script, bash.
Yeah, you run the script, but yeah, and then you just basically via a cloud provider it's designed to run on a single 8 by H100 node via scripts like speedrun. What is speedrun?
I don't know. I just ran that command, bash speedrun.sh, and it's downloading things. I don't know exactly what it's doing, but it's running. As we're talking, I'm reading through this.
Right.
I want to see this.
Yeah. So he's hooked it up, or he recommends you can just do it with Lambda Cloud, basically, to run this. And he's even given the cost estimates here. It's like it trains an inference to the $100 tier of NanoChat on a 8 by like 8 by H100 node at $24 per hour at a total runtime of about 4 hours, right? So $100, yeah. And then he says, like, if you want to train a more advanced one, up beneath, yeah, here's an example. Basically, it's like a chat version. So build your own GPT, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this is for a specific model, and you need a H100 at the minimum.
Yeah, this was the interesting. This, like, the speed run of this, like, so the speed run being 4 hours is like 4 to the 19th flops capability model is talking to a kindergartner. And he talks about like how like fine tuning a model like that is kind of a waste of time, because it's basically like fine tuning what a 6-year-old would say. So like occasionally saying like blue instead of pink instead of cactus, like, and not trying to optimize that, which is pretty funny. All right. Yeah, you should give this a go, but you should maybe fine tune it against like all of your, like what you've said on the podcast, and see if you can make something just like think like you.
It's impossible. I'm one of a kind. So AI won't replace me. No.
I want to see how
I wanted to, I guess, yeah, and I don't have these services all set up, so I'll have to do that from scratch.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool.
Will I be able to use the DGX device, you think?
For this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be a bit underpowered based on what he's saying here, like a 8 by H100 node. I don't know, like what's the comparison between this and 100? I'm assuming they are not the same. It's the thing about like renting cloud stuff. If you only do it for like a couple of hours, it's fine. But you need like if you need reserved compute, then you have to have them running all of the time.
Yeah.
So people like you and I just can't do that sort of thing.
Did I tell you about the time I started a like a cookbook Jupyter notebook on a SageMaker on Amazon? I got distracted, walked away, and I didn't even do anything with it. And then I had a $1,000 bill from Amazon, which, in a business, that's whatever. But for me, like, that was $1,000.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything with. So I did get my money back, but it was not easy.
I found like,
that
yes,
can happen. Just to your point, like that can happen before you know it.
So that happened to me in a startup about 10 years ago. Like our CTO misconfigured something. He wasn't super familiar with AWS, and we got a $50,000 bill, US dollar bill. It was basically like a bunch of reserved instances that was set up and incorrectly configured. To their credit in AWS, they because that would have killed the company, and they basically forgave the bill. They were like, yeah, okay, which probably gives you a sense of how much their actual costs are. That's why their margins are incredible.
It's not new though. That's with any cloud service. Even if you're just talking about basic storage in Azure or something like that, it takes a lot of paying attention to and clean up, and you can spend a lot of money without realizing it if you're not paying attention. That's anymore a huge part of what the value in managed services. Like if you have a different third-party company monitoring your spend for you, kind of pays for itself a lot of times.
Yeah, actually, I really want to know if there are companies that are building agentic DevOps cloud management services, because that kind of feels like it's ripe for some sort of agentic organization kind of workflow. And I would assume that the cloud providers have already done some of that work, or do they not want to because they don't want to disrupt their integration partners and their deployment partners who basically make a bunch of services revenue off that?
I don't know, but I can tell you a lot of those bigger companies, we primarily talk about open source, and it's kind of like a pocket of the universe here that we're excited about. I was kind of blown away the other day. I went looking at ServiceNow, and maybe that's a bad example because they actually do get a lot of publicity about their AI integrations. I just hadn't seen it yet. And along those lines, like they have some amazing products out there for, I don't know if they're really RMMs, but kind of along the DevOps thing. In fact, I saw they put out a vibe coding platform on ServiceNow. So like ServiceNow developers.
Like, you tell me about it, because like that's not what I was expecting, and I wasn't expecting it to be any good. So yeah, tell me about this, because ServiceNow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know a ton about it other than I was just reading on their website. I mean, if you're not familiar with ServiceNow, they are like an absolute monster when it comes to, like ticketing systems for IT issues is kind of like the main, most common. But they have tons and tons of products. They're just absolutely giant. Let me see if I can find this. So they put out something like ServiceNow Developer Platform. It has a product name, and this vibe coding tool is part of that.
Everybody's getting into the game.
I don't like the term. Like, thanks Karpathy. That I honestly kind of have a grudge against that guy. Like, it's so annoying.
All he did was give you self-driving cars and ChatGPT. But hey,
yeah, that stuff's fine. But
I don't like your branding skills.
Originating the term vibe coding drives me crazy.
Very good.
Let's see if this is helpful. Yeah, so they have this whole website, and it's kind of modeled after a lot of the normal products and things that pure AI companies are trying to do. I thought I linked this. Didn't I put a link directly to this vibe code? They had a video about it.
I can check it in if you want.
Oh, I thought that was you making fun of it for a second, but no, it's just
well, because he sounds Australian. That is like, I know the
Build
exact
agent
voice
can help
in 11 Labs. That is like out of the box 11 Labs voice. Australian man. I've used it before. Hi, I'm Russell Crowe, and I'm fighting around the world. So what is it? Is this built on their own system, you reckon? Like, do they build this from scratch? Or you reckon it's on LangChain or something like that?
I don't think so. I think I don't know for sure. I think they've developed their own platform. I mean, like, if you look at AI Agent Fabric.
Fabric is Microsoft. Right?
Well, that's their product name. But there are other Fabric things out there. I mean, you see the MCP integration here, agent to agent collaboration. Well, crap. I'm sorry. And now I'm like on the spot here trying to find that.
Oh, that's what they call it. AI Agent Fabric.
Well, it wasn't. It was, I was trying to find the vibe coding thing. But my point is, it's breached the perimeter. Vibe coding has made it into
service. If it's in ServiceNow, then I guarantee anyone on X will stop talking about being a vibe coder. If like Jenny from account starts talking about vibe coding shit, then any kind of cachet that vibe coding has had will go away in a heartbeat. Can you actually spin this up, or is this just in ServiceNow? Like, this is one of the reasons why I just ignore companies like this, is because it's impossible for you as a developer generally to use anything that they put out, because it's like, talk to sales.
Yes, exactly.
There's literally no bottoms-up developer adoption pathway for you. So I'm just like, oh, well, whatever it is, I'm just going to ignore it. And then whoever they sell to.
They get you enough to start setting up an account and diving into it. And then they hit you with the, come talk to our sales people. Like, it drives me nuts. Same thing with, I had my biggest complaint. I'll just vent for a second. Like, Microsoft. Your biggest
one? You've got a few.
Microsoft, I was trying to use Copilot. I was trying to buy it, and I just got that, like, talk to our salespeople, or then the website would crash. Still to this day, for some reason, have not been able to procure Copilot, so I can at least give it some fair representation.
I've been using it a bit, and you're not missing out on much. Like, there is a lot of product in OpenAI that you really miss out on when you go to Copilot.
Well, they switched it to GPT-5, right? Because they're
but what I mean is, like, and we've talked about this before, like the actual product wrapper, and how the like AI engine, or how the chat engine is built around GPT-5 matters a lot. And like, I think we all know that, right? But like, it really rings true when you go from something like a Anthropic, like a Claude chat, or OpenAI into Copilot. It's garbage. It's not great.
Well, it blows my mind that in Copilot, because I can use it, I guess the base. That's the other thing. They have all types of different products that are just called Copilot, or some variation. But like, Microsoft is an Office platform. So when I go in and I upload an attachment,
Mm.
and it's like, I've never seen one of these ever. It's like, what are you talking? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You're an Office platform using GPT-5? I thought, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm amazed sometimes like these products. So I did that with Gemini for ages. I had a Gemini Pro subscription, but it wouldn't connect to YouTube. And I'd say, just look at this YouTube video and grab me the transcript. And it's like, sorry, I can't do that. I'm like, you're fucking Google. Like, what is wrong with you? The only thing I would say, the caveat to that is Copilot. Like I do hear in GitHub Copilot, which was the original like coding kind of like autocomplete, right? I do hear about people who are like, who developers who are just like, they only use Copilot in GitHub Copilot, right? I haven't, but that actually takes me to this GitHub Spec Kit thing that they released. I wanted to talk to you about this, and I don't know if you've seen it. It must have, yeah. They basically released it. I think they must have been working on it for a while. The reason why I wanted to mention this to you was like, we were talking about like spec-driven development as a kind of mechanism, right? And how AI, like people, coders who are really enabled and work in a team and are very productive with AI, have a very specific workflow, it seems. And one of the ways that they work is basically spec-driven development and a very structured process between the spec and the tests and then the code gen and the process of actually putting it through some sort of like structured workflow. I've seen a few examples. I really want to go through the example from Horty, I believe, is like Horthy. I'll put the link in the show notes. He's one of the guys who's building like an AI coding startup via Y Combinator. He talks in detail about his process. And this GitHub repo on spec-driven development has a lot of similarities with what he was saying. So when he was talking about his workflow in that example, like blog post and video, he didn't actually talk in detail. This actually talks through in a lot of detail around like how to set up architect your process and then ensure that you're predefining at very specific steps for the AI coding agent to execute on against like the overall spec, the requirements for the user, and going through that in a very structured fashion to improve the outcome, particularly when you're working on large code bases. So it's not just like I'm prototyping. They're like, well, whatever, like, you know, you're building a Next.js app and you spin one of those up in 5 minutes and then it goes away at the end. It's like, it's not that. It's like, this makes quote unquote vibe coding or AI enabled coding work on very large enterprise code bases. Specifically, they're like, this is how do you make it work? Which is a lot of the time when I'm working with developers, they're like, I tried a bunch of more complicated tasks and it just broke. And I think this is like the context engineering piece to try and enable that for larger, more complicated code bases or code languages that like where the frontier models still aren't that great, like Swift and some of these other, or Go, or some of these like other things which are not just, it's just not as simple, right? Yeah, I reckon we should check it out. Apparently it works. Yeah, it works with Claude Code, Gemini, Cursor, Open Code. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that to you. Looks pretty cool. I want to try putting in, GitHub. Well, you just Google it, man.
Well, I was just looking at the link list because that's where we sometimes put stuff.
There you go. Where is the chat? I was looking for the chat. There it is. So check it out. Give it a try. All right. While we've been doing that in the background, Claude Code has finally fixed the build errors on my agent universe thing. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, perfect. Have you been running into any limits with Claude like you weren't before?
No, I've never hit a limit.
I ran out Claude and Codex yesterday, and I was like,
man, you're pushing the envelope.
Yeah,
I've never run out. But I often go between Claude and Cursor. So I'll be splitting between Claude and Cursor or have like a Claude, but I usually don't do multiple Claude instances. I usually just do one and then I'll have like Cursor agents. Whereas I don't know if you probably do this. A lot of people, they'll have like 5 Claude agents going at once, working on like a Git work tree or whatever. I don't do that. Maybe that's why you need your DGX Spark.
Yeah.
I really want you to give me a demo of that once you get it, and you can show it off.
I don't have all of my email accounts set up. I was looking through like, why can I not find this email?
Get rid of this. Oh, did you want to talk about these Claude Code plugins thing quickly? I kind of want you to
Yeah, we
explain
can do
that
that.
thing at some point. And then we can go into the Agent Universe thing. Do you want to pull up? I've got the blog post here, but you can pull it up on the screen if you want.
Well, if you have it up, go ahead and pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is this Claude Code plugins?
Yeah, Claude Code Plugins. They just announced it, I guess, the other day. What day was that? Last week?
9th. Last week, yeah.
Sometime. Yeah. And Tom, we've been talking a lot about, as we're using more, especially the CLI-based coding tools, whether it's Codex, Claude Code. I complain a lot about just managing all the various, whether it's your MCP servers, your sub agents, your / commands. It just becomes kind of a nightmare to manage all of that and then be able to use it smoothly with whether it's in a different area on your computer, like a working folder or whatever. So I think this concept will really help with that. And yeah, Tom, to be honest, I was hoping to have more of a demo. I just didn't get to it. And I couldn't actually get some of these test marketplaces to add on my Claude Code for some reason.
Well, if I go plugin.
The idea.
Yeah, here we go. Plugin. Oh, I've just got it on the screen as well. So plugin. Right. Okay. Can you see that? Let's zoom in a bit so you can see it.
Yeah. So if you go to browse, you won't see anything because you have to add the marketplace. In fact,
add marketplace. Okay. Right. So you have a source. Like, that's cool. What, you publish a bunch of these as like a collection? Is that the whole idea?
Right. So as a marketplace, so you could think of it, I guess, like a actual marketplace. Do you have the link to that one that I mentioned, Claude templates?
Let me check.
It was at the bottom of that blog post. If you type or search for Dan.
Oh, it's the bottom down here. Example plugins. Dan.
That one, yeah, plugin marketplace. That's cool. The one I showed you. So this is interesting because Dan Avila, I don't know him, but Dan, if you're out there, we'd love to talk to you about this. It'd be awesome. If you remember, I don't remember what episode it was, but when we were talking about the Claude Code sub-agents, we did some silly examples like the FFmpeg.
Yeah.
Where completely bytecoded video editing pipeline. So
the video. Yeah, that's right. The video, like the video gen marketing video thing that I put in there, and you're like, all right, here are the sub agents and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So I saw this repo as like trending or something, and I just chucked out like 100, like 100 sub agent templates or something like that. And I was surprised. They're still, a lot of them are still there, and they're part of this repository, and I think make up a good portion of it. But some of those were
came from that episode
we created on the fly here on this podcast. But this, I just thought this was cool because this was mentioned. So this marketplace was mentioned by Anthropic in their blog post, and I haven't seen a ton of these, but Dan he had this idea like right away. I don't know when this was created, but it was initially around just sub-agents, I believe. So now with plugins, you can do like sub-agents.
Yeah, here we go.
Tools. Yes.
So here we go. Yeah, I remember this from the episode. So yeah, like timestamp precision. Yeah, this is how it was like, basically this was generated out. And if you remember, like basically we just prompted or you pushed it in and said like, because we did it on the fly, it was like, I'll come up with these agents, and then it built the agents for the task. And this is basically what it came up with, right? That's cool. So now these are out there, and you can just grab them.
I saw that name, and I was like, man, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's very familiar.
I was like, oh, cool. We kind of contributed in a way.
That's cool. Audio quality control. Yeah, I remember. Okay, nice.
Yeah, so again, I didn't get as far in terms of like a demo on this as I'd like, but I've talked a lot about the model context protocol registry, and we talk about schema-based, whether it's agent templates, whatever. And this is kind of like a way to make that available to everybody else. It's still not like an iPhone app marketplace. It's very much developer type stuff, but it'll be interesting.
Do you know what's the command that I have to put in to Claude here to actually load this marketplace? Do you know? Like, it's like add marketplace.
I think that's where I was getting caught up because they had a post on X, right?
Oh, it's a repo. So if I just put this repo in,
I just ran exactly. Maybe I'm an idiot because
what does it say on the blog
post? I just
post?
changed it out with their marketplace name, and it just still didn't work for me. And then I moved on to something else. Here, look at this.
Make it a share customize. Anyone can build and host plugins, create a plugin marketplace, curated collections. You can use a plugin marketplace to share plugins with the community, host it on a GitHub repo, or a URL with this format, Claude plugin /marketplace JSON, and the documentation.
Yeah, so it's very, very similar to the subagents idea where, but it's like on this, you can organize your plugins. And again, that can be, as far as I'm aware, subagents, MCP related tools, / commands, really just any type of customization that you'd like with Claude Code.
Given a bunch of those agents in that marketplace that I'm about to install were generated by you and I on the fly live in the podcast, wondering if I should add that entire one.
You're with the agent universe thing. Yeah, this is how I've been thinking about it. It's some type of marketplace registry type of deal like this. Because I think with what you're talking about, where you can just kind of dynamically choose and build all these different agents, you have to have something like this. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
This is
actually, yeah, you're right. So that'll be really cool to explore. Okay. But just so I'm clear on this, it's just a configuration set so that you'd have a bunch of those sub-agents and commands and things enabled in your Claude SDK, and then you can just use them, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's very similar to, like, in fact, they've put out they were called DXTs, the desktop extensions. And that's just a standardized way that anybody can pull down the packages and install them. And it doesn't take a bunch of manual config. That's really what it is. It's just like a standardized configuration. So in this case, it's really just a file you place in your GitHub. You organize your files a certain way.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep this in mind, and then we can talk through. Oh yeah, there's just like, if you want to try this, we can just go to these docs, and then it's just an npm install command. Global Claude Code templates. Okay, cool. Let's talk about this agent universe project then in that context. So I mentioned this to you last week, and I want to continue like kind of building on this. Basically, what I wanted to talk to you about and do live is sort of like to go through how you would advise me on how to build an agentic application like this based on the description, because I am interested to get your thoughts and you can give me some advice. So I'll show you the website and we can go through like the concept, link to the previous videos where we talk through the idea.
And this was based on, remind me, the census data? Yeah,
it's based on a set of data it was actually based on a blog post from ACZ.
And that was the NAICS combined with census data, right?
Yeah, which is basically like AI. It's a bit old now, but AI opens up, a bunch of vertical SaaS businesses using this data set. You can download, basically it's as software becomes labor, markets open up that weren't necessarily available to us as software developers before, where you can then effectively go out and convert a portion of a labor budget into a software budget, which makes that market accessible and valid in a way that those markets weren't before. For example, there are 18,000 laundromats that spend $2.7 billion a year on labor in the US, and they have 130,000 employees. Now that is a big budget. Like if you think about the cloud spend for like a couple of years ago, it'd be more now, but cloud spend on SaaS products was about $100 billion. This is about maybe 5 to 10 years ago, which was about the same as the total cloud spend on cloud compute, right? So all of the public market SaaS providers their total revenue was about 100 billion. So if you consider that, like veterinary services, like $13 billion of labor. So all of these new markets just open up as services become software. So in the context of that, the first thing I did, if you remember, was, and this is the kind of app that I've been mucking around with, vibing. The first thing I did was build this dashboard, which is a kind of like a duplicate of what was from that Tableau kind of analysis that I did in the first video, which was basically to say, on the vertical axis, you've got revenue per employee in this agent universe. And on the horizontal axis is the number of employees. And then I'm just highlighting, some key stats about each of these industries and bubbles. So legal offices, now some of the data isn't showing correctly, but it just gives you a sense of like the size of the prize, the area. And then I've just got a bit of a filter at the bottom so we could look at specific sectors, whether we could look at, we did this last week, warehousing and storage. That's kind of boring. Motion picture and video production, that's more interesting. And then you can also sort by, the minimum number of companies out there, minimum revenue per employee, maximum revenue per employee, just some basic filtering. And then you can see, all right, data processing, hosting, software publishers for this sector, wide and wireless telecommunications, motion picture video production, companies, average firm size, all of this sort of detail. What I wanted to do was basically go from there, and I might just go because I've got a dummy segment to take you through on this, and then we could talk through the practical way of actually executing an app like this. Is residential building and construction. If I click on that, this is effectively like the industry profile. Some of this stuff is just calculated metrics. So about 170,000 firms in this sector. I think this is 2020 data, so it's pretty old now. But in reality, it doesn't matter that much because you think the total amount that's not going to change too much. And there's total employees about 700,000 in the US, which equates to about on average of 4 per firm. It's a big distribution. You can figure that out. There's other data in the data set that I haven't surfaced here. And then the total revenue in billions, estimated annual revenue. I have to double check that number. It's quite a lot. And this is just a generated score. That's a dummy score for now. But basically, I wanted to try and generate like a disruption risk kind of profile score. And then off that, try and deliver like an agent pattern that someone could use if they wanted to create an agentic first organization that targeted this segment. So I started like vibing up basically like a little kind of like workflow tool using React-Flow, the package that OpenAI uses as well. Yeah. And so basically I built in a prompt to the backend, and I'll open V0 and I'll show you how I did that before. That was basically like, all right, give me a value flow diagram. Now actually getting it to format correctly is an absolute ball ache with this React-Flow thing, but particularly when you make a massive diagram like this. But the whole idea is basically like, give me a kind of a customer journey flow and also like a back of house, front of house kind of distribution of tasks, plus in industry data and like data hooks and systems they might have to go and connect to. And then off that diagram, generate me agent concepts and agents ideas. So here is one, put it down here because the data formatting is not correct. At the point when proposal gets reviewed, but before contract signing, we need to figure out permitting for residential construction. And so here is a permit navigator kind of agent card that it's recommended we develop. And the whole idea being that you could put all of these industries through that auto-generated kind of GPT-5 extended thinking kind of value creation diagram kind of concept. And out the end, we'll a value creation kind of profile for every single industry in that chart that has a starting point of not only how these companies create value, but also points at which it would make sense to create an agent to take on and hive off a chunk of that value creation flow, right? The end vision being that I could come in here, like, so this is an organization pattern, this isn't hooked up yet, but I could say, all right, I'm a small residential construction company. And then I could click on that and it would generate like a simple version of this. And then if this works, I've got this generate custom, like you should say custom like blueprint or my agent blueprint. When I click on that, let's see if this even works because part of this was busted before. It should trigger effectively like a request off to the AI SDK gateway with Vercel and start effectively generating that blueprint for me. Now, this isn't hooked up yet. what I want to talk to you about is just maybe even thinking through or diagramming out some of the next steps of like, well, how would you actually go about doing that? Because we could set up the database and we could auto-generate those things, kind of like what you've done with the Vault. If you're interested in checking that out, we can share the link to that video, which is cool, which is like storing the prompts, generating the content, rendering it down into like Superbase, whatever. We could probably do that. Yeah, this is probably timing out.
Tom, I
We
mentioned
could probably...
I've kind of done some exploration or development in this area kind of, and mine's a lot around tool use. I think that's the other thing is, and do you need like, what kind of inputs, what's the required output, what kind of tools are required?
Yeah, I think I kind of need I think we'd also need like an organization builder where it could say, all right, what email system do you use? What's your order tracking toolkit? What software platforms are you currently on? And those could come out and be part of like some sort of integrated kind of agentic kind of workflow. Because what my ideal outcome would be like, yeah, you're right. What are the tools as well? And I could click, all right, create this. And it goes through and says, all right, connect up, blah, 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 connect your HubSpot, connect your Gmail, connect your like Google Workspace account, whatever it is, connect, Microsoft 365. And then it goes off and creates the agents, connects into the data sets, takes example data, like data potentially from your operation already. And then out the end comes a set of agents that are already hooked up, that are already connected into the different parts of the workflow, and you can then test them. That would be my ideal. But actually the handoff and like the actual next step of that is kind of challenging. So a couple of things maybe before we launch into the conversation.
In the build process or actually using them?
Well, both. Handoff in the build process. So handoff in the build process is something that we could probably figure out if you and I just like vibed it for a bit and talked through some of these things. But the handoff in the actual use in practice is like non-trivial, right? That's the whole thing around A2A protocol and like how agents communicate with each other. What's the best application architecture like? Is it just a customization of like deep agents with a couple of tools? How complicated do these things need to get? Like, do you need dedicated like specific graphs? Like when you look at something like the social media agent that we profiled right from LangChain, that's very, very detailed, very complicated, very specific. Is it possible to even auto-generate some of these things? Or is it just not possible now with the tools that we have? I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to show you in here is, I built all this this is just vibed up using V0, right?
What package or library using for the visuals? It's a JavaScript library.
The visuals, all of this stuff.
Yeah, like this.
This charting thing is, what's the chart? Bubble chart. Recharts is the package. And this is all in using, Next.js, React Next.js. Yeah, it's not bad. It's okay for something simple.
It looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to use this now that they've got this more advanced design system enhancements these guys released. It's not perfect yet, but it's definitely a lot better than it was. And then you can just go like, yeah, give me this, and then update these things and have like reference design systems for your actual.
I thought that was part of your app at first, because I guess, I hadn't seen
over
that.
Here. Yeah, no, so the app is here, and then I'm just diving into V0 to show you. Like they've got environment variable management that's a bit better. Like they are getting better V0. Like it's still not as good as I want it to be. But I'll show you this. Like one thing that I was kind of impressed by that I was trying to use more of is, because this is hooked up to Vercel's stack, they have their AI elements, which is really cool. So they've actually got a UI component library specifically hooked up to their AI SDK, so that you can render down like thinking token, like the chain of thought flows and those sorts of things back down into your UI and make it like basically so it looks and feels like OpenAI or like Anthropic or whatever. So when you're building these interfaces, like the user expectation is they kind of look and feel like this, right? And it's all just out of the box, built on ShadCN. So I was saying to the LangChain guys, they should probably build something similar, and it sounds like they might be thinking about it. Anyone is sort of like, when you build one of these apps on top of these platforms, it sort of has a look and feel about it. So yeah, I loaded that into this part. I was trying to get it to sort of generate a bit more effectively. Yeah, let's see what's going on in V0. If I come over here, you can see it slowly working in the background.
I'm sorry. Did you say, do you have this published or not?
Yeah, I do. It is just on a holding URL. I'll chuck it in the chat for you if you want. And then I think I added you on the repo so you can check it out. But basically, it's just a front end. What I really wanted to talk to you about is sort of like, well, how would, like, that's just like the front end repo, right? What I really want to see, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on like how you've thought about these things in the past, or connect it up from this payload, which if I show you what the actual like information is that comes off here, from the point at which you'd say this blueprint, because this is just a demo one for that construction industry thing, which is like a value map effectively in React Flow. And all I did was just go into ChatGPT and just iterate a couple of times on this thinking, like with extended thinking on like how this should be put together. I just said have a think about like what you think a value delivery map looks like for a regular construction firm. And then what are some concepts around the individual agents that could be created? What are some of the KPIs? How would it work? Right. So it's like a pretty classic kind of like, reasoning kind of model kind of task. And all I really wanted to try and do was just put that into some sort of like prompt flow, which I've seen you do before, right? You did it on the Vault, and that is over here in this API call, which is pretty much just like generate an app. And this is just what it looks like. It's like, all right, for the industry, using the industry name and the NAICS code, you're an expert AI systems architect generating a comprehensive agent organization SaaS application. And then it just goes through these steps, iteration steps. So adding the AI agents as one step, evaluating, just going through effectively like a flow of like incremental kind of prompt sequence to then generate the outputs. But that was effectively just to build like a dummy holding page to say, hey, we're building like your agent organization, right? But that's not it in practice. Like that's just like the UI. What I want to kind of chat to you about is like, all right, if that's my goal, what do you think? Like, how would you think about building an app like that? Would it be like a brief into Vibe SDK and you just like go in there and say, create me like a new application? Would you want to build like it's like a bunch of LangChain kind of cloud hosted agents based on a deep researcher base that's customized? How would you get them to talk to each other?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if you don't have that already, I think like an inventory of all of the possible parameters and variables. I mean, that's just how you think like programmatically, like what are all the different configuration settings that could be set, and then be able to define when. Is that what you have there?
No, this was me just like mucking around and building some stuff and like trying to figure out the flow. But what I kind of want to understand is like, say if we did use an industry that we're familiar with and the output was like something like this, like my original kind of prompt to get it started was basically I'm creating a customer journey map or a service map, right? That was sort of where I started. I was like, all right, can that be the starting point for any kind of generation of effectively anything like this? So I'm creating.
Did you specify any framework or anything like that? Like
no,
LangGraph?
because no, I didn't. I haven't done that yet because like it would likely be something to like with LangGraph. I'm assuming would be the only one that's sort of robust enough to build something like this, right? My assumption is from here, from the point at which you basically like click on this area and just go, all right, build me my custom, agent organization. There's like a handoff and you go into like another app where it takes that brief and starts effectively generating you like an environment where not only can you interact with and manage your agents and have like maybe an agent inbox equivalent or something like that, but also somewhere where you're actually managing your work, or a combination of those things. Like that's what I'm imagining you're going to have, because if it's kind of like if we just like diagram it out, this is what I do all day at work. I don't know about you, sort of like building diagrams.
And that's really what that LangChain executive assistant thing is for, right? Like,
yeah,
think of it as like a ticketing system, I guess. Queuing up.
You're talking about the agent inbox.
Well, that's part of it, but there's a component of that I think that is just called executive assistant, and it's the part that receives the like notifications and manages the queue and stuff like that. So they have multiple other example products or whatever other than just the agent inbox. Actually, I think the social media one feeds into that as well, feeds into the executive assistant component.
This is, hang on. So these are the components that go in. This is how I'm imagining. It's like basically you've got your generation prompt. It's got the industry and the value creation map as like a artifact as part of that. You've got and the agent kind of agents, that agent creation brief. And then from there, basically it was like the generation step. But then the next app kind of like up to here was the app that I was showing you, right? It's like front end universe. That's kind of like an onboarding app almost, is what I would say. And then from here, there's like the universe kind of like, I don't know if that's a good name, or is that going to annoy you kind of like vibe coding does?
No, that's fine. I like universe.
It's sort of like the agent universe kind of app, management app, right? In here, the generation step happens, but then within here, I'm imagining there's like basically like there's like a workflow of some description toolkit, even if it's just tasks, jobs. If I take that construction example, tasks, jobs, messages, communication, whatever, you know, all the random ERP shit that you just have to do to run a company, to run an organization, whatever the organization is, whether it's a laundromat or a construction company or a software business or whatever. And then you've kind of got your agents. It's like an agent. You call that agent 1 doing whatever. Agent 2, agent 3, blah, blah, blah. And then there is some sort of dynamic kind of interaction between these. That's how I'm imagining it will have to work. And then on here, like there would also need to be an underlying data layer that sits above that interface where they all kind of interact with, whether that's like a data store, blob, file, etc. And then a consistent set of tools that they all get to use sitting out over here. And all the user interacts with is this. I don't know if that's correct, or is it better, I don't know, app architecture wise, is it better to just get rid of this and just say, all right, well, here are your agents, and your agents are only going to communicate with you via Slack and email and text message, and they just connect back into all your other, whatever you define
things, keep it within a boundary.
Yeah, and then it just communicates out to all the rest of their other apps. So if they happen to be on whatever their Procore, so if it's a company like a building company, it might be Procore. That's a typical kind of like building management SaaS solution. And maybe their CRM is HubSpot, and their work toolkit is like Google Workspace. Say those are the system of record for a small construction company, right? This bit goes away perhaps, and the agent system just interacts with those. I don't know. That's on my mind. So if you could spin that up, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, next week. No problem. Do it this afternoon. No, Tom, maybe we could set aside some time if you have some and talk more about this, because I've been thinking about it differently, but very similar. I think a lot of people are starting to, and I love what you've built here so far. There's definitely potential, and I don't think in this there's really a right or wrong. I mean, there are so many ways you could go about this. And the other thing is, companies, just because they're in the same industry or they have the same NAICS code, doesn't mean that they're, they could be completely different companies. They operate differently, different culture. So there's so much that goes into that. to do it well?
Yeah, there is a lot. Like, I don't know, like there's so many different, you're right, there's so many different ways of thinking about this. A lot of ways that many of the successful agentic kind of startups have thought about this is like horizontal. So they'll just basically say, give me every single company, right? Oops, is that, wonder if this, I haven't actually tried this reset filter thing before. Oh, it does work, great. Recharts is awesome. They'll basically say, look, every single one of these bubbles here represents just a bunch of employees and people. And pretty much every one of those companies needs a salesperson, right? So then I'm going to build like 11, I think it's 11x or whatever. I'm going to build a agentic salesperson, and it's a horizontal play. And then there's some other ones which say like, we're going to go vertical, right? And go into one of these segments properly. And this is, I guess I'm saying like, it would be cool to use this as a way to kind of, I guess, motivate people or kind of inspire them to say, I am an expert in, and they might choose their sector. They might say, all right, I'm an expert in law, and I think there is something that I can implement in the, accounting, tax preparation, bookkeeping, and payroll services kind of legal space, right? I want to take that on with my specific skill set. But like, and then I go and check out this area. I'm like, but I don't have the technical skills to do that, but I know that I could implement like a more efficient or a more effective or a different organizational strategy as a result of what I can do with agents now. And I'd want them to be able to look at this and basically like build their value map and say, I want to, this is how I imagine it coming together with my different tools and my different and my specific view of how it's going to work. Maybe with some sort of AI kind of co-pilot to build that, and then they can just click generate and then it builds it for them. And then they could actually start running that company or that organization. That's sort of the vision.
I think about it like an agent that helps probe, I guess, or like gather your requirements. Or like, I guess like a systems analyst or business analyst. And then like helps ask you like, what are the requirements? Oh, I didn't think about this.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to consider that,
All right. Well, that's Universe Part 3. Maybe Part 4 will actually be, we'll get a version of this going.
Yeah, well, now we have
to. I just want to do it for one type, like just one industry, like go through end to end, just do one industry type and see, can we get to a point where at the end of it, there's some sort of, I don't know, agentic kind of system that's usable. Might not be valuable yet, but at least it'll be usable. That's the goal.
Hey, some days something just, if it doesn't throw errors, runs clean, that's a good day.
Yeah, man.
Some days.
All right. Well, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Let's talk about it again. Have a think. Maybe we can do it next week.
Perfect. Can I maybe like fork that or something?
Mate, you're on the repo. You do what you want.
Did you shared it? Well, I actually saw on GitHub a invite. I clicked it and then it threw an error on the page and the invite went away. So maybe here, let me look. The repo is just called Universe. Is that right?
Universe, yeah. Collaborators. And then
got another invite here.
Yeah, you're on the repo. So yeah, have a look. Let me know what you think.
Cool,
man.
Yeah,
all
I'm
right.
excited. It's very related to a lot of things I've been thinking about.
I need to look at those marketplace tools and figure that out. I'm hoping that this could come together with some of the tools that are already out there, like some of the LangChain out of the box tools, some of the maybe the deep agent agent pattern is enough for 80% of the agents that would be created. Enough MCP connectors where you could make it work for 80% of the use cases. That's what I'm hopeful for. And then you can just get in there and cover a bunch of ground just out of the box for someone.
Yeah. I've just taken a lot of these templated agents and stuff and sub agents, kind of started extracting the core of it, like the description and system prompt to make it reusable, no matter what framework or what type of agents you're using.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I was thinking is the assistance thing, right, in LangGraph Cloud, where basically it's just a prompt customization, and you have a sub agent that's an assistant type or an assistant variant of the actual graph as well. So yeah, I don't know. So working app on my desk by next week.
Well, I'll have a NVIDIA Spark on my desk next week. Actually, I don't know if it'll be on my desk. Probably.
Mate, you're not going to be doing anything other than playing with that for the next couple of weeks.
No, I'm going to try not to. I have other things. I'm going to try not to, but that's hard. That's hard sometimes.
All right. Rock and roll, mate. I'll speak to you next week.
Tom, have a good rest of your week, man. Appreciate it.
Bye.